what we're observing has to do with this larger process in European history, which is what do you do after empire? The Europeans found a very good answer about what to do after empire, which is European integration. So European integration has served an increasing amount of Europe very well as the economic and the cultural basis for peace and prosperity for 3 generations now. And the Ukrainians understand this very well, which is why in 2004 and in 2014 and now, as President Zelensky applies for European Union membership, they've put Europe at the center of their thoughts and words, even as they face incredible struggles. So in Europe, you can either have integration or you can have empire. Russia is the last important European country which is still on the side of empire. The Russian state is constructed now in such a way that, given oligarchy, given the lack of rule of law, given the essential impossibility of domestic policy, all that remains are imperial adventures to try to make a leader content and a population distracted. I think what European leaders are understanding, and I think German leaders are now central to all of this, is that this process of European integration, which began with economics, moves slowly forward to politics, also has to involve security in the broadest sense of the word. That a Europe that is going to be whole and free also has to be a Europe which is capable of defending itself, capable of defending those who are willing to defend it, right? Right now, European history is being made in Ukraine in large measure because it's the Ukrainians who are willing to put their bodies in the way of risk, harm, and death in order to protect things that people, broadly speaking, care about. But there's one more thing going on here with the Germans, which I want to try to quickly explain, and with many other people in the West. And it has to do with the perversion of the language of the Holocaust. When Mr. Putin says that he wants to denazify Ukraine, he's pushed a lot of buttons that he didn't want to push. I've had a lot of private conversations with a lot of significant people who have been trying to understand those remarks because they understand that there's something fundamentally wrong with a war that aims to kill a Jewish president and undo a democracy, which is supposedly being made in the name of denazification. And I think what people have understood in the last few days is that what Russia is doing is not just making war against an innocent nation here. Russia is also, or at least the Russian leadership, is deliberately undoing the linguistic and the moral structures that we drew from the Second World War. The words genocide and the words Nazi are very important to the whole moral structure, which undergirds how many countries, European, North American, and also others, have set up a better version of life after the Second World War. In perverting all of that, in debasing all of that, Mr. Putin is not only going after a country, which is bad enough, he's going after a whole moral structure. And I think people have come to understand that, and that has something to do with this solidarity and with this certainty that something is deeply, deeply wrong with this invasion. Not just killing people and attempting to destroy a nation, which is bad enough, but also just the full-throated, cynical nihilism of it all.
And maybe I would like to add specifically about Germany, because as historians, we are constantly aware of the centrality of the past in shaping the present, in shaping the future. And I would like to say to Germans, German politicians, and Germans in general, as a historian, as a Jew, as an Israeli, we know that you are not Nazis. You don't need to keep proving it again and again. You don't need to be afraid that if you pick up a gun or that if you raise your voice, we will think that you are Nazis. We know you are not. What we need from Germany is to stand tall and lead